Well, good morning, gentlemen. Delightful to see you all today. By way of introduction to some of the newcomers, I'm Bill Ragsdale, was the founding president of the Fourth Interest Group, 1978, and led it for 4 or 5 years and had a number of other activities. I'll introduce this talk by the closing, and then we'll have the closing later on also. But the slides you see today will be posted or are now posted as PDFs at GitHub/Bill Ragsdale. That's GitHub/Bill Ragsdale. And the value in this is that the links that are shown here are pretty well live links in the PDF. So if you want to see the reference material, get the PDF and you should have links to all the sources. So what we're going to cover is some 40, 50 years of the archives of information on Fourth on the internet. And I'm going to make a bold statement to lead with to catch your attention, and that is that no other computer language other than Forth has the breadth and depth of information and history as we do have with Forth. There is no archive on Pascal, no archive on C++, on Python, you name it. Where can you go to find in one place, one archive that covers 40 or 50-year history, except in Forth? So by tracking through what I present today, you will gain access to what I calculate is approximately 620 examples and lessons of Forth, which are examples with code, with explanation in fourth dimensions over this time period. You'll be able to retrieve the material by subject and by author from sorted indices. You will have access to the slides and notes of every Silicon Valley Fourth Interest Group meeting for the last 22 years. That's a 22-year archive that is online. And you'll have access to the video of every Silicon Valley Fourth Interest Group meeting over the last 16 years. The first segments are the handouts, and the second sequence is the actual live videos from the meetings. And of course, I'll point out the last 5 or 6 years are taken from Zoom meetings, which are very well done, very well presented and edited. Also, you'll have access to JFAR, which is the Journal of Fourth Applications and Research, which is the University of Rochester. Formal, which is the Fourth Modification Laboratory. This is a series of conferences held for about 12 years at Asilomar in California. Also, information from the Rochester Fourth Conferences and the Eurofourth linkages. Again, where else would you find an archive like this at your fingertips? So a little background on where the material came from and how it's organized. This is an early picture from 1978 or thereabouts of the organization of the Fourth Interest Group. On the back left with the beard and the shiny forehead is Dave Bolton, the late Dave Bolton, passed away some time ago. In the shadow in the back, on the back right is John James. And on the left front is, with the heavy beard, is Kim Harris. I'm in the center with the Fourth Dimensions t-shirt on. And on the right in the red t-shirt is Dave Kilbridge, who is our treasurer. This group started under an oak tree in the Stanford Student Union in about this 1978 time period. So in the background, starting in June, July 1978, we published the first edition of Fourth Dimensions, and it continued for 23 years through 21 volumes until 1999. An amazing publication history, and that is the major information retrieval area. Having Fourth Dimensions published and online opened the door to the flood of Fourth-based publications, which we'll see over the following 46 years. The online archive of Fourth Dimensions covered from 1978 to 1999. Vierte Dimension in German covers from 1984 to the present. The Journal of Fourth Applications Research covers about a 5-year time period. The formal conferences is 1980 to 1992, 12 years. The Euro Fourth conferences are very well documented from 1985 to the present. And the Silicon Valley Fourth Intergroup meeting videos go from 2008 to the present. And as I mentioned, the Silicon Valley meeting slides, PDFs covered 1999 to the present. So here are elements of the access. Again, if you download the PDF on this, you'll, in the blue underlined areas, you'll get the actual links to the material. We also will discuss how you can get this access directly from forth.org. So the first resource available is there is a keyword and author index of Fourth Dimensions, volumes 1 to 15, that are available as PDF and as Word. And there is an author-only index from volumes 1 to 15. After volume 15, from 16 to 20, there is a scanned table of contents. So in this case, on one PDF, you will see the 5 or so years of content, but you have to look at the table of contents to find what you're looking for. The entire scanned issues of volumes 1 to 20 are online as a PDF. And I'll note that the last published issue of Fourth Dimension has a link here, which was it was not printed. It was not a printed issue. It was the concluding issue, which was prepared and distributed by email and posted here. The entire archive can be seen at www.archive.org. And then you search for Fourth Dimensions. Archive.org, if you're not familiar with it, is an amazing research. It takes snapshots of the entire internet of every few days, weeks, months, years, so that you can roll back a website over time periods and see snapshots taken at that time. It's an amazing resource that was put in about by Brewster Kale, who's a friend of mine. Brewster Kale put in. He got a $50 million purchase from Amazon, from AOL a few years ago, and he took that money and invested it now in building the Internet Archive. So here's our history. Fourth Dimensions. This is my library of Fourth Dimensions, which it turns out is only about 3 feet away from me on a pile on a table. And year after year, I continue to say I'm going to organize it and scan it and file it away, and it still sits there. But the online version is much better organized. Here's a snapshot of volume number 1, issue number 1 of Fourth Dimensions from June, July 1978. It was done on a Selectric typewriter. My wife was the editor for the first year. The second issue looks a little bit more professional. And this was August, September of 78. And you can see the content of the issues. We use the academic journal format, so the table of contents is on the cover. And the page numbering continues through the year. So you start at page number 1 on January, and you page numerically sequence through all of the issues, 6 issues for the year. About a year later, on volume 1, number 5, you can see Roy Martins became our editor. Roy Martins was the business manager of the Fourth Interest Group for about 5 years. And notice the cute artwork on the left-hand edge, which shows it's taken off after indirect link threaded language. In 1982, Leo Brody became our editor. He had worked at Fourth Incorporated for a number of years as a technical editor, and he became an independent consultant this time. So about his half-time job was being the editor of Fourth Dimensions. And again, the cover artwork has been improved at that point under his leadership. Marlon Overson was an alumni also of Fourth Inc. And when he retired, the Fourth Dimensions employment was his bridge to private consulting. And again, we have somewhat of a artwork change. And finally, the prettiest cover of all was under Marlin's leadership, starting in about 1990. Probably the most attractive cover of the bunch. This is volume 21, 22, some years later, 1999. This is the online version that Marlin put together as his last step, and Skip Carter arranged to have it published. And we'll mention Skip Carter later. He is our tremendous resource and host, because he hosts the forth.org website. Here are some of the links on how to access material. Your starting point, I'll put out a big notice here. These websites were instituted 20 some years ago, back in the late 1990s, and they are not menu driven. There are no drop-down menus. These are all link driven. So it is more difficult to find the material. You have to go to a page, find the link on the page, and then click on that. And so the content is not terribly organized in a hierarchical top-down way, but you find the material in blocks with links page by page. So if you go to forth.org, and then on the home page, you will see the link to Fourth Dimensions, and that will then get you to the next stage, which is all of the issues. So on the next page, you'll see a link that says scanned issues of volume 1 to 20. If you follow that link, you get to the page that's shown at the bottom. In this case, you now have the links to each page. The black numbers on the left are the volume numbers, and then there are 6 inches a year, and so the blue underlined numbers will get you to that particular issue. So you can go any volume, any issue by these links. And again, you've had to make 3 link selections starting with forth.org. This is a way to get the indices for these issues. Again, from forth.org, the FD Fourth Dimensions page, the PDF index will get you a PDF version of the 20-some years of, or about 16 years of content. And if you want them in Word format, there's a link for that. What you'll then see in these downloaded indices is the sorted, in this case, by keyword. So on the extreme right-hand column, beginning with algorithms, going to applications, you can see the content year by year, issue by issue, with the author name, the volume, issue, page, and title. Later on the same document, you have the sort by author. Well, in this case, you can look under last name, and you can see that Ash was the first in the alphabetical sequence, and then Abu Mustafa came later, then down to Ackerman, Altness, and so on. So you can find material contributed by each author. For the last few years, the last 5 years, you have the scan table of contents. In this case, you have to scan through them, but again, they're organized with the full description of the content of the article and its title, author, and so on. So the usage is to go to those links, pull down the index in the format that you want, and you can either get the PDF or the doc format. And I will point out that this old doc format, the Word format, which is pre-2016, the current versions of Word seem to give up on the doc formats. They need a converter tool to go along with them. And so I open them up with LibreOffice. LibreOffice handles the old format perfectly well. But again, the current Word versions need a helper add-on to be able to read those old formats. And so on those downloads, you can search by the keywords author and subject. Pulling a little information out from the author index, we see that Henry Laxon has 19 entries. In other words, he wrote 19 articles over that time period in Fourth Dimensions, and he is the author of Laxon and Perry 483, which occurred in the late 1980s. I guess early 1980s. Dr. Ting was the second most prolific author with 18 entries. John James with 16, and myself with 15 entries. And Glenn Hayden, who did 479 with 12 entries. So these are some of our historic figures. The kinds of things you could find in these publications are quite advanced, quite interesting. There are articles on CRC calculations, a number of articles on extended precision math. There are some architectural discussions of alternatives to indirect threaded code. I know a couple of articles on dynamic memory allocation, so on. So these are very, for their time, very contemporary issues in computer science development. Also reading this, you will be able to see how Forth itself has evolved over 50 years. There are 3 generations of Forth standardization. There's Forth 79, there's Forth 83, and then there's ANSI Forth, and more. When you get into the formal conference proceedings area, the first thing you will see is just Splash, which is the announcement for the reference index, which was published in 1993. And on this page, there is a link that will get you to the indices. There, as far as I know, there are very few formal proceedings that are available as PDF. I think 1 or 2 issues somewhere along the way you'll find on the internet that are PDF, but we have had no PDF versions of all of the issues. I have 2 or 3 issues, but that is still a task to be done. At forth.org, you'll see the link to the article reference. So this is right on the home page. When you click on this, you will then get the content index from 1980 to 1992. It's organized similarly to the one that was done in Fourth Dimensions. So you can see it's organized by keyword. In this case, then, the first one is Forth Applications in Industry. It's by Guy Kelly, and it was done in 1990. And it is 3 pages long. It starts on page 3, and it's 10 pages long. So it nails down exactly what, where, and how. The sorting by author gives you the formal proceedings by author. And again, it started by Abu Mustafa and then goes down to Will Baden. And you can see Will Baden was very prolific. At any given Forth conference, he would often present 2, 3, 4 items. And quite interesting, quite challenging. So Will made major contributions to Forth along the way. He's also a very innovative thinker. He would come up with unusual twists. And then finally, there are the formal conference proceedings by date. So in this case, the very first start would be year 1980, page 3, and so on. And this will step through page by page, year by year, through the Forth proceedings. Larry Forsley and his wife, Taya Martin, organized a nonprofit organization at the University of Rochester, New York. And they started the Journal of the Forth Applications and Research. Published it for about 5 years. I believe there are 4 issues per year. The material is available in total full form at forth.com. This is Forth Incorporated site. So if you go to forth.com under Forth Books, they have extracted the article. So it is not in journal format. It is article by article by article, but it's the full comment, full content, text, and illustrations from the journal for every issue. Silicon Valley Forth Interest Group assumed the mantle of Forth Interest Group. Forth Interest Group ran until, I guess, about the late 1980s or early 1990s. And then when it faded away, Silicon Valley Fourth Interest Group took over its activity level at serving the Bay Area, the Northern California Bay Area. It has maintained the YouTube videos over time, so there are a total of 415 videos posted on YouTube, and the channel has a total of 1,150 subscribers. So in this case, go to YouTube and search Silicon Valley Fourth Interest Group. They are posted, I believe, by reverse date. So when you go to that channel, you will see the most recent information first. And this is a link to those videos. So if you go to forth.org and to Silicon Valley SEFIG, at that page, you will then see a link to those meeting videos. So you can go directly to YouTube, or you can go to link to these videos. And at the forth.org page, the organization of the indices is shown here. Again, most recent first. When I prepared this, the most recent was November of 2023. And here you see the content of the topic, the presenter, the format, in this case video, and the duration. So in this case, this was 4th day 2023, and the last video in line was 54-minute chat with Chuck Moore, who was our annual speaker every year on the November 4th meeting. So again, some 12, 15 years of videos all online. From that same page, then you can click on the meeting slides. And so if there are handouts or PDFs from those meetings, they are shown under the links from past meetings. And if you click on that, again, you see the index online by reverse date order. So in this case, it's my takeoff on this was from 2023, working backwards. 12 meetings per year. The Vierte Dimension from Germany has run from 1984 to the present, so it's the only continuing online publication, written publication. It's available, I believe, in written form and PDF online, and is about 80 to 90% in German and about 10 to 20% in other languages. Very thorough in maintaining the current technical developments in Forth. It has a similar structure as the access for Fourth Dimensions. If you go to that website that's given there, starting at the forth-ev.pe, then you can go by volume number. The black numbers on the left are the volume numbers, and then 6 issues a year underlined in blue. The Euroforth conferences, again, are accessible from euroforth.org. And year by year, the conferences are shown. If you click on the year number at the left, that link will get you then to the presentations and proceedings from those conferences. Again, I want to reinforce what a rich selection of material has been archived for us. The presentation is very thorough. You can select to view indices by the subject, author, and date, and you can download the text from the links on the right. So we're winding up now. The credits I would like to offer for the people who have generated this material over time. Fourth Dimensions over quite an extended period of time. Started with my wife as the first editor for a year. The Roy Martins took over, then Leo Brody, and then Marlon Overson. And these are all people who have, over a long period of time, made a great contribution toward the documentation of Forth. Larry Forsley and Teo Martin managed and inspired the Journal of Forth Application Research and the annual Rochester Conference. The Forth Modification Laboratory conferences were managed by Kim Harris and Bob Reiling here in Northern California. And the current Silicon Valley Forth Interest Group archive is managed by Dave Jaffe, who was our link to Stanford University, by George Perry, who was our early technical manager, Kevin Appert currently is the chairman of the group and organizes the meetings. And Brad Nelson each month does the Zoom recording. And then he breaks the Zoom presentations down by content, posts them, and indexes these. So that the fourth Silicon Valley fourth meeting is on the fourth Saturday of the month. And usually by about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Brad Nelson has the material posted online. So thank you for your rapt attention on this. Oh, and the last mention is Skip Carter. Skip Carter deserves a huge debt of gratitude. He is the manager and owner of the Tegeta Network Security, and he hosts the forth.org website and has for the last 20 years or so, and indirectly the subdomain for the Silicon Valley Fourth Institute. So we thank Skip Carter for his contributions. So to conclude, I want to acknowledge all of the organizations and users that have left this huge archive for our benefit. And I challenge you all to go in, poke around, and find something interesting. If you want a current project to work on in Forth, find one of these older articles, expand it, bring it up to date, and present it. And the starting point, as always, is forth.org or the forth.com, which is Forth Incorporated, or the link that I gave you to the German Forth websites. And again, to conclude, this slide presentation is in PDF form at GitHub/Bill Ragsdale. There are several folios there. I think there's about 7 or 8, and so you might have to click down to look at all of the folios that are presented. So, do we have any questions or comments?
Thank you very much. Well, what a great overview. Other questions?
Now, Sven? It's muted. I think we're all stunned into silence. That's good because it means I have resolved all the questions. You all absorbed knowledge, and that's what counts.
Yeah. So I maybe just have a small remark. Because of Wolfgang Strauss, the German Force magazine is actually the latest issues are translated to English as well. So if you go to the page that will present it and you look carefully at the latest issues, you will see that there is also English versions, and you can download the PDF. So all the German language articles have been translated. Yeah.
That is amazing. Is that machine translated or human
translated?
No.
Yeah, well, half and half. So the attempt is done first automatically, but then proofread afterwards and made 100% consistent. So it takes some time, but there are some volunteers to actually do that. And Wolfgang drives this, and I think if you enjoy the English translated version, then let Wolfgang know either directly or via myself, so that he is encouraged to continue that.
I congratulate you all on that. It is absolutely fantastic. Really, really, really good. And it shows you the man-machine combination. You know, do a machine translation and then touch it up. And that is really good. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Are there any other comments, questions? So I only can encourage everyone to have a look there. It's really an amazing resource, as Bill said. And I'm really happy that we took the effort to gather all this together and make this available. Because going back, looking at what the community did in the early days is really very helpful, and to reconsider things that were done on the small limited things and computers that we had in the early times, can now be re-examined and on a much larger PC or even on an embedded system that is much larger than a PC was at that time, can really be valuable to incorporate into your force programs. So yeah, it's a treasure. Yeah.
And what's so important is that the material has been captured contemporaneously. That is, it's captured at the time it's been presented, because it is so much harder to go back on an archive basis and reconstruct it later. So we have to thank our predecessors for the last 12 or 15 years who month by month have captured the material and posted it. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that is really great. All right. So then let's see, we continue with our next speaker. And I must say, I should have checked if Virgil is in the conference. He probably will let me know, but Virgil, are you with us? No, I'm browsing through the participants. I don't see him actually. So is Virgil, are you here talking or want to talk about Collapse OS? Doesn't seem to be the case, but I saw Travis, which is our next speaker then. And if Virgil appears later on, then we just switch the talks. Travis, are you prepared to talk about Zep2Force and the implicit compilation? So I see Travis, but he might be under the impression of not being on schedule right now.